Okay, this bottom six spot, let's talk about this, because I had to listen to Drance tell me about how great Linus Karlsson is, and I disagree. I know in your guys' takeaways that you wrote at the end of
He
the
wasn't
weekend.
making the case that he's that great. He was just saying, don't forget about him in that conversation.
No. He was saying no. The conversation Drance and I had was talking more about how Linus Karlsson was like going to make the roster. Let alone again, I'm not going to get into it, but it was really funny. Drance's that conversation. But anyways, that spot, like I'm giving the inside track to Sammy Blais. Like if I had to put the why
I don't.
why
Blais was awful in the scrimmage, man. He had like
okay
3 or 4 turnovers.
Okay, but I raise you this idea, and Talkett spoke about this too. He loves him some Sammy Blais because Craig Berube likes Sammy Blais, and he talked to Craig Berube a lot about Sammy Blais. I also have a feeling that with Sammy Blais, who again, like we've seen this guy play, he's a dog on the forecheck. He likes to throw his weight around. Scrimmages aren't the best environment for a player like that. So I just think the preseason, like all of those guys we saw in the scrimmage, I don't think they're going to have a ton more to give in the preseason than what they could already do in the scrimmage. Whereas I look at Blais and he's on a PTO. He's not trying to blow up Quinn Hughes when he has the puck, right? So I'm looking at Blais and saying, okay, like he has I'd say inside track, because again, we've talked about him coming on a PTO. We've wondered if it's going to be a situation where they have some sort of handshake agreement in place. And look, Alvin, you can't ignore that Alvin spoke glowingly about Sammy Blais on day one of camp when I asked him about the PTO candidates that were there. Didn't have much to say about Dylan Ferguson, and we kind of read between the lines on that one. But Sammy Blais got a lot of love from Alvin. He's getting a lot of love today from Rick Tocchet. He's a guy I'm looking at closely tonight.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, you're right. I probably shouldn't judge I think I'm putting a little bit too much stock into him really struggling in that scrimmage. And again, I understand the point that you made about, yeah, he's not going to blow guys up and be a menace on the forecheck the same way he can be in a preseason game. He turned the puck over like 4 times in vulnerable spots. And that's just obviously not gonna fly in preseason and regular season games.
So I've basically narrowed this down. The 13th forward spot is between PDG, Nils Åman, Sammy Blais. I don't want to hear about Linus Karlsson. Linus Karlsson is basically like if someone asked, what would Nils Åman be like if he wasn't a center and also didn't have the same defensive chops? That's what.
Well,
Linus
hold on a
Karlsson
second. The point that Drance brought up, which is valid in my mind, is that if the coaching staff had enough trust to use him in an NHL playoff game, that
before they went and acquired about 5 better forwards in free agency.
But hold on, that still carries weight.
For what?
I'm not saying he's a lead contender, but you can't immediately qualify and be like, yeah, he's basically already cut.
No, you can. I think you can. I think you absolutely can.
Sammy Blais doesn't even have a contract yet. And you're talking about him already having the inside track?
Absolutely. Undoubtedly. Like little doubt in my mind. I don't want to make a bet on it because Sammy Blais on a PTO, so it's really easy to just release him. But I would put a small sum of money that Sammy Blais lasts longer in the preseason than Linus Karlsson does. I would.
I'm not saying, well, and let me be clear. I do think Blais has a better chance than Karlsson overall. I'm just saying don't discount Karlsson completely.
And I'm just saying I'm going to. Also, the context of Drance and I's conversation was they were showing power play units, and Drance brought up Linus Karlsson when we were talking about the power play, and I said, he's not even going to make the team. And then that's how Drance and I got into that conversation. I'm hyping it up. I'm exaggerating, as I so often tend to do. All love to Drance. I'm not trying to be an asshole here, but yeah, I don't know, man. I don't have a lot of time for Linus Karlsson, to be completely honest with you. And you're right, it is a good point that he did play playoff games, but I don't want to talk about Linus Karlsson for more than like 3 minutes because I don't. He's not going to make the team. He's not going to make the team.
That's fair. But if we're talking about all the guys that are in contention for the 13th forward job, he's at least part of that group of a handful of guys.
I'll just leave.
You don't have to like him. You don't have to. He can be the guy that you don't want to make it out of that group.
Okay, if he's in the conversation, like the conversation can't have 7 people in it. Is my point, and I don't think there's anything Linus Karlsson could do over the next week to just completely stand out above PDG, Nils Åman.
PDG, Nils Åman, the real murderer's row of competition to have to beat. What a high bar that is.
We're talking about Linus Karlsson. Yes, it is a murderer's row.
They're all just guys.
They're all just guys, but they're all guys that are better than Linus Karlsson. Now I'm turning this into an anti-Linus Karlsson thing, and I didn't want to. I really didn't want to. Look, the Canucks don't have any right shot centers. The only way Linus Karlsson is ever making this roster is if he learns to play center. Like he's done it. He did it in junior.
That's
right?
not happening.
It's not
He's
happening.
a winger.
So he's not making the team. This is what I'm trying to get at. We don't need to talk about Linus Karlsson we've already exhausted way too much time on it. Now I'm being mean to Linus Karlsson, which isn't what I intended to do. But come on, what are we talking about? Like, no, Nils Åman's cut because Linus Karlsson stood out. What are we talking about?
I'm just saying you can't completely leave him out of the conversation.
But why can't you? I need someone to explain to me why we can't, other than
because why can't Nils, like, why is Nils Åman or PDG that great that if again, this is an if, right? Over preseason, if Linus Karlsson dominates, you're telling me that you'd go, no. We got to leave a roster spot for Nils Åman or PDG.
Yeah, I don't know. I just disagree.
Thanks for watching this video. For more great content from Canucks Army, check out Sakaris and Price, Rink-Wide Vancouver, or our show, Canucks Conversation. We're your one-stop shop for interviews, breaking news, and a live Canucks postgame show hosted by Jeff Patterson.